ADHD and anger. ADHD and anger play hand in hand together. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to like temper and anger. Fighting with somebody that has ADHD and what it actually does to our brain. And this is a very big struggle for a lot of people with ADHD, especially undiagnosed ADHD, because this will never make sense until you're actually diagnosed and you know that, oh my God, this is how my brain really works. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. So when it comes to ADHD, the easiest way when temper and anger and getting into fights and arguments, all of that, we go out of proportion with it. And why is, first off, anger, temper, all that, it creates dopamine in our brain. It naturally is a dopamine creator. So if you don't know, when it comes to ADHD, having ADHD and dopamine is like putting glasses on. It allows us all of a sudden to focus in on something. Unfortunately, we have a very powerful emotion such as anger or temper now, all of a sudden that we are now focused in on. We can get to the point that we become even hyper focused in on this. What happens now is we have a clear thought process, clear focus on anger, being upset, going out of just overboard, uncontrollable anger sometimes, an outburst. And now it's feeding even more of our dopamine. So it starts amping us up to the point that sometimes you have control issues of your temper too, where you can throw things. You have these like utterly complete meltdowns. I used to have these and I didn't understand really why. It is because of how our brain starts working, getting into these arguments and disagreements of just creating more and more dopamine. We're fiending on this more. So now we're more at it. Now it's just this like, just this cycle of dopamine, anger, focus in this big circle until the point that you almost just exhaust yourself. I've learned this: if I start to get angry and I start to feel my temper coming on, I can always usually kind of actually feel it in my cheeks a little bit. They start to get a little bit warm. I go and take a walk. That is one of the biggest things. I understand and know now that, hey, I'm starting to feel this way. I can feel my focus in on my anger. It's kind of like the world stops a little bit and starts zoning in. And I go take a walk because it's not worth it. That's one of the things that is horrible when it comes to ADHD is if you aren't diagnosed with it or you don't realize what it is, then you can say some horrible things that you cannot take back. I mean, some fights can be very, very damaging to relationships, to friendships, and it's not worth it. So my biggest thing is when I feel like the temperature change in my cheeks, I can feel myself zoning in. I look at people, I'm like, hey, I got to go take a walk. I'll be back. And I just go walk. I'd rather be a little bit rude and walk off and go take a walk than to possibly ruin a friendship, possibly hurt a relationship, any of that stuff. And that's why I share about this, because the more that we share, the more that we understand, the more that you learn coping tools. I mean, hit the like and follow button if you haven't. Comment down below your experience and what you do when your temper starts to get out of control with ADHD. Because the more that we share, the more that it helps others who have just been diagnosed or are trying to find their way through this to understand, hey, this is what it is. Here's how I can do my own life so that I don't hurt others. I got diagnosed with ADD at 13. I got re-diagnosed with ADHD at 17. And I think that the more that we share, the more that we share coping tools, the more that it helps anybody out there who is struggling. And that's what it's about, is not going through it alone.